Arsenal Football Club and Mikel Arteta are and is a cult. Let's talk about it.
And now we return you to our regular scheduled program in progress.
So, people, welcome back to the channel. I've been gone for the past 2 weeks, but you probably didn't notice. So, yeah, let's get straight into the meat and potatoes, man. Arsenal Football Club is a cult. Now, you're probably thinking, well, this is a pretty big claim to make about something that there's been absolutely no proof of or no I don't know, evidence or anything of substance to give even the tiniest bit of an inclination that this club might be a cult. But I don't mean this in the most literal sense that it is a cult. I mean it is a cultish football club. Now let's think about it, right? Let's think about it. The most successful and biggest cults that we've known, you've got stuff like Jonestown, and Jim Jones. You've got the Manson family and Charles Manson. You've got shit. I'll even put MAGA in there, Make America Great Again. And Donald Trump. Them niggas are like a flipping hive mind, bro. They are hive mind. It's like they share collective brain cells. They all have like just one singular brain, and they all have the same flipping thinking process, and they all have the same just thoughts and whatever it may be. And I feel the same about Arsenal. Now this isn't all Arsenal fans and the entire Arsenal Football Club like as an entirety, but for the most part, a large part of the fans, I won't say majority, but it's a pretty significant amount of the fans. When you look at it, you're like, how are you still backing Arteta? Because 3 seasons in a row finishing second place, that's kind of bad, bro. I can't lie. That's crazy. We ain't seen shit like that since like the 90s, bro. Arsenal are dead ass the Buffalo Bills of football. The Buffalo Bills went into the Super Bowl 4 seasons in a row. They qualified for the Super Bowl 4 seasons in a row and finished second, or they lost that Super Bowl all 4 seasons. They have never won a Super Bowl ring ever in the whole history of the franchise. Now, I know Arsenal have won Premier Leagues, but I feel like this is similar to that situation because Arsenal have basically put themselves in a position where they're like in a good position to win right now, and they're still failing to do so. Last season you had a Manchester City side that basically fell off and they failed to win the league. We won the league with 84 points. You can say that, yeah, Manchester City and Arsenal were shit, but Liverpool still had to do their thing. We had the league wrapped up by like March. That's not our fault. That is not our fault. With Manchester City, I understand. Rodri was injured. Haaland was injured for major parts of the season. So that's like, they're out of the picture. But what excuse does Arsenal have? What excuse does Arsenal have to be finishing second 3 seasons in a row? What excuse does Mikel Arteta have to be finishing second 3 seasons in a row? And I want to get into Mikel Arteta, man. That man is demented, bro. He's not okay in the head, man. That man is not sane. He's not clinically sane, bro. He needs to be put in a flipping straitjacket and monitored 23 hours of the day. All right, 23 hours of the day at the absolute bare minimum. He needs to be monitored because when was it? This season, I think, or last season, or preseason. Some in the last couple of months, he said that Arsenal in the past 3 seasons have accumulated the most points of any team in the Premier League. Now you're thinking, that doesn't sound right. Because you think surely the team that's accumulated the most points in the Premier League in the past 3 seasons would end up with at least 1 Premier League trophy. But no. What have Arsenal done? 22-23 season, they finished the league with 84 points. Who won the league that season? Manchester City. They got 89 points. The second season after that, 23-24, which is probably Arsenal's best season under Mikel Arteta, they got 89 points. Who won the league that season? Manchester City. They got 91. All right. Next season after that, 24-25 last season, basically, or not basically, literally last season. Arsenal ended the season with 74 points. Who won the league that season? Liverpool. They got 84. So if my math is like, adding up, you know what I'm saying, quick math things, that doesn't sound right. Because one, yeah, you can say that you finished like with the highest points tally of any team in the past 3 seasons, but you're lying. That's a lie. You haven't, bro. It's Manchester City. Manchester City have had the most points out of any team in the past 3 seasons. Arsenal have had 247 points. Manchester City have finished the league with 89, 91, and 71 points. I think. But like, I know the total is 251, but I'm not sure like exactly, you know what I'm saying. But basically, Mikel Arteta lied. A bold-faced lie. Just straight up lied to the masses. And he expected us to believe him. He thinks that we are idiots. And by we, I'm talking about like the masses in general and mainly Arsenal fans. And this is why I say that they are a cult, because he just said this shit and didn't expect anyone to try and fact check him or anything like that. That's shit that Charles Manson has said to the Manson family. That's shit that Jim Jones has said, and his cult and stuff in Jonestown. And that's flipping Donald Trump, all the promises that he's made, all the promises that he's failed to keep. And you just think to yourself, right? You have to think to yourself, at what point do Arsenal fans need to just look in the mirror and be like, this guy is just bad for the club. He's not a clinically sane human. There's something wrong with this guy, because it's not only that, it's not only that. He has made excuse after excuse after excuse. And it's like, bruv, you've had some of the highest net spends of the past like 5 seasons probably, and you have nothing to back it up. You only have 1 FA Cup. If you want to count Community Shields, sure, let's count Community Shields. Arsenal have 2 Community Shields. So that's 3 major trophies, They haven't won any of the big 2. And the reason why I'm making this video specifically is because of one thing that really ticked me off in the past few weeks, Since the season has started, basically, Arsenal fans have said, give Arteta time. Eventually, it'll come good. Liverpool gave Klopp time. Look at what happened. And now I have to say this, right? Liverpool gave Klopp time, yes, but Klopp was established. Klopp had his name certified, He won 2 Bundesligas in a row against one of like the strongest Bayern sides we've ever seen. A crazy Bayern side. A Bayern side that won the Champions League. A Bayern team that made it to the Champions League final the next season after that, or like the season before. Something like that. They lost the Champions League and then they won it the season after. Against Dortmund. A Jurgen Klopp led Dortmund. So that leads me to think, right? You compare the two, and it's mainly comparing the time at Liverpool and Arsenal. Let's look at it, season by season. First season, Klopp came in the 15-16 season. Liverpool finished 8th, if I'm not mistaken, 8th or 7th. They won, no, not won. They didn't win a trophy, but they made it to the League Cup final and they made it to the Europa League final. Klopp joined in October of that season. So a month after the season started, he didn't even have a pre-season. And that's what he did. Arteta's first season was the 19-20 season, the COVID season, if you will, which I don't think it's a COVID season because like 80% of the season was played like in non-COVID conditions. But hey, that's neither here nor there. So Arsenal finished like, what was it, 12th, I think. I could be wrong on that, but they won the FA Cup, which fair enough. He won a trophy in his first season. Now let's go on to the next season. Jurgen Klopp in his second season, he bought Sadio Mane and a couple of other players, but mainly Sadio Mane was the main player that he brought in. I'm not going to go through every single transfer, that's too long. But he finished 4th that season, which isn't like, that's pretty decent, for a new-ish manager in the Premier League. That's a pretty decent season to have. Mikel Arteta in his second season, the full actual COVID season now, 2021, I think they finished 8th that season. So you're probably thinking now, okay, so Klopp this is kind of like 1-1 now, because Klopp finished higher in his first season, but Mikel Arteta won a trophy. But Klopp in his second season finished higher. Mikel Arteta did nothing. Third season now, 17-18 for Klopp, 21-22 for Mikel Arteta. Again, nothing for Mikel Arteta. Jurgen Klopp making it to a Champions League final against Real Madrid and finishing in the top 4. So that's another point to Klopp. The fourth season, 18-19 season compared to the 22-23 season. This is when Arteta's ideas are fully kind of fledged into the team. This is like his team now. This is fully his team. Almost every single player that he didn't want at the club is gone, and every player that he wanted at the club is there. So it's all his ideas. There's basically nothing from the past. That's all him. And you can say the same about Klopp. Almost every single player at the club at that point is Klopp's player that he has bought or he has developed into something bigger than they were when he came at the club. So 18-19 season, what happens in that season? Both teams finished second, right? Mikel Arteta in the 22-23 season finished second. Jurgen Klopp finished second. Now you're like, okay, that's decent, but let's delve into it. Let's dive deeper. Liverpool finished the season with 97 points, the highest points tally of any team in Premier League history to not win the league. What did Arsenal finish on? 84 points. Now, that was probably some of the best football that Arsenal played under Mikel Arteta, but it resulted in literally nothing. Quite literally nothing. They got nothing from that season. Yeah, they were good, but they got nothing. What did Jurgen Klopp do? 97 points, Champions League win, and one of the greatest Champions League comebacks of all time against Barcelona. So now Klopp is firmly in the lead. Let's go into the next season, right? 19-20 for Liverpool, 23-24 for Arsenal. What did Mikel Arteta do? Finish second again. What did Jurgen Klopp do? Won the league. In his 5th season, he won the league. Now, if you want to go prime for prime, let's go prime for prime, Arsenal and Arteta, their prime has been the past 3 seasons. Jurgen Klopp, his prime was 19-20, 2021, I guess, and no, 18-19, 19-20, and then 21-22. That was his best 3 seasons at the club. What did Klopp do those seasons? He won the Champions League, he won the Premier League, he won an FA Cup and a Carabao Cup, which is so much more than Arteta can say that he's won. So yeah, this goes back to my point of saying Arsenal Football Club is a cult. And Mikel Arteta is the figurehead of said cult. Because you would think, right? You would think that surely at some point Arsenal fans would just wake up and smell the bacon, bro. Astaghfirullah, I know it's haram, but still we need to, I need to get to my point. You would think that eventually at some point, hopefully they would smell the bacon and get their asses up and be like, wow, this nigga is trash. But no, they are privy to the fact of Mikel Arteta is more of a detriment to Arsenal Football Club than he is I don't know what word to use in this situation, but you know what I mean. He's more of a detriment than he is like a good figurehead for the club. You've had managers in the past that have been putting their blood, sweat, and tears and being sacked because of a few bad years, namely Arsene Wenger. Arsene Wenger consistently had Arsenal in Champions League football, and they basically got him fired because they were like, bruv, we want to win a league, fam. We're tired of finishing 3rd or 4th, bruv. We want to win a league, bro. We're tired of FA Cups. We want to win the Champions League. Look now, bro. Look now. You thought you were better off with Arteta, but no, bro. You are so much worse off with Arteta than you were with Arsene Wenger. Because Wenger was there for like 26 years, right? And almost every single season of those 26 years resulted in Arsenal getting Champions League football. Yeah, I know they didn't win that many leagues, but surely you would commend that level of consistency. Not that many teams are good enough to to finish in European spots, never mind Champions League spots, for such a consistent amount of time. But no, they got their man. They got Super Mikel Arteta. Look where that got them now, bruv. 3 second place finishes in a row. And it looks like it's going to be another second place finish because Liverpool have just completed the signings of Alexander Isak and Mark Gay. As I'm recording this, it's about 3 hours before the window shuts. So, going to be an interesting few hours, to say the least. You know, Mark Gay is still doing his medical. Alexander Isak, I think he just finished his medical. Probably he's going to get announced tonight. Mark Gay also probably later tonight. But yeah, bruv. Yeah, Arsenal fans, it's not looking good, bro. It is not looking good. It is honestly not looking good. Because you can say, oh, well, yeah, we've had an upwards trajectory. But the football has gotten worse, bro. How are you playing worse football with a more established team? It makes no sense. Mikel Arteta he himself is a paradox, bro. He's a paradoxical manager. Because how can you have an upwards trajectory in terms of like points and stability of the club and money that you're spending? It's all going up, you know, but the quality of the football is getting worse. You go to Liverpool, right? You want to win the league, you go to Liverpool, you go to Manchester City, you go to Spurs, right? Those are grounds that you absolutely have to get 3 points at. Even over 2 matches, right? Absolutely, at the bare minimum, you have to get 4 points against those 3 teams. Even Manchester United, you could add to this. You know, Chelsea even, you could add to this. At the absolute bare minimum, you have to go out of the season knowing that you got 4 points at the minimum from those teams. And Arsenal, every single time every single time they went to face Liverpool, they've went for a draw. Every single time they face Manchester City, they go for a draw. And it's like, bruv, these guys aren't serious, man. This isn't a serious football club. They don't have serious fans, and this isn't a serious manager. You know, I think eventually it will come good for Mikel Arteta. But I hope it doesn't. I hope he gets the sack. I hope fans finally realize that this guy is actually not what he was prophesized to be. He's not the chosen one, all right? There's countless other managers out there that you can get that will probably do a better job than Mikel Arteta, namely Indoni Iraola, but he's probably going to Manchester City after Pep gets sacked, which I do think he will get sacked, or like he will leave on his own accord. One of the 2 managers are going to be gone, if not both, in the next 2 years. You know, Mikel Arteta and Pep Guardiola are going to be gone in the next 2-ish years. But yeah, I've ranted enough and I've said enough and I've spoken my piece about Mikel Arteta. Hopefully this is the last video that I have to do about Mikel Arteta. Hopefully not, because I hope that, you know, they continue to be shit and I get more entertainment from their misfortune. But yeah, I think I've yapped long enough. This is probably close to 30 minutes now. I'm gonna go edit this video and I'm gonna enjoy some deadline day drama. I hope you niggas have a good one. Subscribe to Mission Podcast. I was there like yesterday. We were doing the player ratings. So subscribe to them. They're good dudes over there, you know, good peoples. Yeah. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like, subscribe. You don't have to comment. I don't really read comments like that. I just be liking them bitches. But I hope you niggas have a good one. I am out. Deuces.